So Mayor Tiffany Henyard, she may be going to jail now that she's no longer the mayor of Dalton or the supervisor of Thornton Township. But not what we think she should be going to jail for. There's been a lot of investigations going on, but now she was subpoenaed to come to court. She showed up, but let's just check this out.
An Illinois mayor is getting national attention for the way that she's spending taxpayer dollars. Now, critics say you can't turn your head in the Chicago suburb of Dalton without seeing the name of Mayor Tiffany Henyard. She's also the supervisor of a neighboring township and refers to herself as Super Mayor. It's her TikTok handle, too. But she's now accused of spending tens of thousands of taxpayer funds on self-promoting billboards, as well as putting her name on government buildings, government vehicles, even government rugs. Not to mention the Tiffany Henyard calendar, which includes the super mayor's birthday.
We begin with breaking news. A fist fight breaks out at Tiffany Henyard's Thornton Township meeting tonight, and witnesses say Henyard herself jumped onto the pile.
It was one thing when the guys were fighting, but when she jumped in it, I was just taken aback. I was floored.
She jumped in, she hit her head on the table. So I don't know. She may be in.
So there's a lot of things that we could talk about, when we talk about this thing with Tiffany Henyard. We was reporting on this and covering this for 2 years. We know that she was doing the pay to play. She was firing people. She fired Stephanie Weiderman, the W woman, as soon as she got into office as the township supervisor. We know that she was throwing important documents out. We know that on her watch there was an important trustee that got accused of SA assault while on a trip in Vegas. We also know that she was doing the pay to play. Like if you wasn't backing her, she wasn't renewing your business license in Dalton, right? There was a whole lot of things. They had corruption in the police department. We know that her police chief was quit. Right, and then he resurfaced down in Miami, somewhere in Florida, and he was speaking out against her to the news. Right. We also know that she lost. She only got about 12% of the vote, and when she challenged Jason House for the re-election, and she lost. Right. So now she's out of a job and she's broke, and the news is saying this.
Breaking news as we come on the air tonight. It appears Tiffany Henyard is out. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Schneider.
I'm Dawn Hasbrook. Our Dane Placco has been the leader in breaking news on all of the Dalton drama. Dane, this sounds like a shocker.
Yeah, Tiffany Henyard didn't just lose tonight. You might call this a political annihilation. Her opponent, trustee Jason House, getting a 7-1 margin over her tonight. House with 87.9% of the 4,400 votes cast here today. Henyard getting just 12% of the vote. Those numbers came in fast this evening, sparking a huge celebration here at House's campaign headquarters.
So Tiffany Henyard came under fire when we saw at the trustee meetings. They was asking for records and paperwork to show how she was spending the money. All the money that was piling up on those credit cards, they was asking to see records of that. So, and she wouldn't. So under the Freedom Information Act, the news reporters and the news companies sued her because she would not give up the records. Now, early on, she was first giving up the records, right? And that's how they found out that she was spending all of this money with these lavish trips. And when this stuff hit the news and she was being exposed for spending all kinds of money, she stopped giving up the information, right? And the courts ruled that she would have to give up this information or she would be prosecuted. She would have to go to jail, right? So what happens is she was spending money in an alarming fashion, right? Check this out what the news is reporting.
The most recent cost causing concern, Henyard's Taste of Thornton Township last month. WGN Investigates obtained records that show singer Kiki Wyatt was paid $30,000 to sing for 30 minutes. Rapper Jay Holiday made $20,000 for a half-hour set. When you factor in staff, equipment, and other expenses, the total cost is at least $85,000, which is lower than WGN Investigates initially reported, but still raising questions.
Extraordinary amount of money was spent unnecessarily.
Trustees voting not to approve thousands of dollars in expenditures for Taste of Thornton and other Henyard events, money that's already been spent.
A lot of that spending was done on credit cards. We just don't agree with so much being put on credit cards. And then also recently it looks like even stuff that we voted not to pay then was put onto credit cards.
So she was just being defiant. She was embarrassed. We know that she went on to Rowan Martin. She even went on to Facebook and Instagram and started her own channel to spill the tea on all the stuff that was going on in her, in her tenure as mayor. She was talking about, that there was other corrupt people like Zuccarelli, and was saying that Zuccarelli was stealing money. She was saying that nobody came against her until she got into office, because we know that she was on the trustee board for like 8 years, right? So she had already had the experience, and I always asked, why was she there in the first place? They knew that she wasn't qualified. Why did they want her there? They wanted her there because they felt like they could control her. I felt like they should have just had one big overhaul and got rid of everybody, right? And just brought in all new people. I thought that all new people should run, because I don't trust none of them, right? But WGN out of Chicago was suing her office because through the Freedom of Information Act, they was trying to get the records so that way they can report it back to the people to show how she was spending the money, and she wouldn't do it. Check it out.
WGN is suing the village of Dalton for refusing to follow open records laws and release spending records. Last year, WGN Investigates sent Dalton an open records request seeking copies of the agency's credit card statements, as well as records relating to Mayor Henyard's compensation and the cost of her taxpayer-funded vehicle. But Dalton has declined to release the documents. After WGN Investigates appealed, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office ordered Dalton to release the records by mid-March, but that deadline came and went.
What she tried to do was hold out. She tried to hold out in believing that once she's out of office as the mayor of Dalton and as the supervisor of Thornton Township, that all of this would go away. She wouldn't have to turn over no records. But what she forgot was she was already held in contempt of court. And the judge said, no, you got to bring your behind down to court, and we need to see those records. We need to know how that money was spent and why Dalton is left in the deficit, right? She needs to be able to show records of where the money is, right? And she was holding out, being defiant. And when she got out of office, she was just basically saying, that's not my problem no more. There's a new mayor. There's a new person running Thornton Township. I'm not a part of that no more. I'm not the one that kept the records. Well, the court said, no, you need to come down, and we're giving you a certain amount of time to produce those records. Check it out.
Former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is expected in court today for failing to produce records in a lawsuit against her in the village. It is over documents she has not handed over as part of a Freedom of Information Act request. A judge previously said Henyard could be fined $1,000 a day if she doesn't give the documents to the plaintiff's lawyer. If Henyard doesn't show up to court today, she could be thrown in jail.
So we're facing this trouble and possible jail time and a fine. Well, she showed up. Well, she kind of showed up. Check it out.
Former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard appeared in court virtually yesterday, complying with the judge's order. It stemmed from a Freedom of Information Act request from a downstate organization seeking credit card records. According to court documents, Henyard ignored the request and failed to show up for a hearing on the matter. Henyard has until next Friday to provide that paperwork. The judge also ordered her to appear in court in person next Friday.
So in the hearing last week, Henyard reportedly told the judge that she was the face of the village, but not tasked with record keeping, right? And that's according to WGN9. And the judge slammed that and basically said, no, you had access to the records when you were spending the money. We need access to those records that you was using when you was using those cards to spend that money. Now, what's the odds you think of her turning over those records, because we know that she was corrupt and incriminating herself? She's not going to turn those records over. Now, what may happen to her, we don't know. But what we do know is she has yet to turn over the records. She needs to appear in court. She's scheduled to appear in court next Friday, right? And the judge said, when you get your behind back in here, you better have those records or you're facing jail time, right? Now, if she showed those records, there's no telling what else is going to come out. And like I said, we saw her have drag out arguments, at these meetings. So I don't know, man, these board meetings, right? I don't know. This thing is crazy, right? We know Like we know when it comes to Tiffany Henyard, I always said that why was she there in the first place? She was not qualified. People put her there. I always thought that Trustee Gonzalez in Thornton Township, he should be investigated. I don't trust none of them. I don't trust Jason House. I don't trust none of them. Because why was she? We know that she was put there in Thornton Township, but we know she was voted in Dalton. Why? How was she somebody that you can trust? Soon as she got in, she like within 6 months, y'all was trying to get her up out of there. Y'all was trying to get her. Man, listen, this thing is crazy, right? We reported on this for so long. I don't have to say much, right? We know that she's doing court next Friday. She has to produce the paperwork. If she doesn't produce the paperwork, she could be off to the can, the slammer, the big house, the pokey. She could be out of here, man. As more of this come out, we'll report more of this. I'm going to keep you guys abreast as to what's going on with the Tiffany Henyard situation. But if you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.